Inner force, but within inner force. If it is product of Big Bang theory, that the explosion and the cosmos. So what is then within the inner force? The ship, the ship, you may wondering how scientists can tell if we're looking at our planet, how many people. To find out, they collect rocks around Volcano and take them to the laboratory. You can actually check them there. Okay? These are prevalent rocks from the rounded volcanoes. And you can actually check on the date. Okay? How many years does this rock actually there? Dating refers to the method of determining the age of the Earth's material. The Philippines has more than 200 volcanoes. We have more than 200. Why do you think so that we have a lot of volcanoes in the Philippines? You are already waited and you to focus on. Yes, sir. Please stand up. Correct. Very good job. We are actually in the Pacific Gulf Island. Okay? Because of that, active volcanoes emerge. The most active are Mount Kalimantan, Taal Batangas, okay, and Canlaon, Mount Canlaon, in Texas, okay. I have seen how Kalimantan, as a moment, it's dormant. It's not an active, but it's dormant. And it's regulated activity, but records show that it is still active, but it's dormant. Locations of active volcanoes, the lowland volcanoes around us. Ocean make a famous ring of fire. This ring of fire is called the Pacific Rock Ring of Fire. Okay? This is where Philippines also is, right? Sure. What part of the Philippines? We are actually located in the before it's here. But now, records show that we are actually in the Pacific. We might, or we might not have the famous available, but we have a lot of the things. And some of them are not open. Most of them are okay? But these volcanoes on land are not volcanoes. They are volcanoes. There are also volcanoes located under the sea, as well as the single volcanoes at the seafloor and oceanic ridges. We have also regions and ranges. Oceanic ridges are the cause of these conflicts. Very familiar with these conflicts. So, based on studies, seafloor as we know is continuously moving. Okay, it is like what of course, many or of course, react to this spreading of seafloor. That is actually ice the plate. What is the plate move? Okay, the volcanic activity also will actually, or there is always a activity. Let me check on the other. Can you hear us? Not you? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, but I don't think I can hear your voice well.
Okay. Let me use my earbuds.
The volume is a bit low.
There's always. Can you hear me now?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, sir.
Well, second class. YouTube now. Can you hear me now?
Yes, teacher, I can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, teacher.
Yes, teacher.
Can you hear me?
Yes, teacher, I can hear
Yes,
you.
teacher. Loud and
Alright,
clear.
loud and clear. Right. I transferred it in my AirPods. Okay, we have a lot of gadgets here. Good. Alright, let's continue. A long line of volcano around the Pacific Ocean makes up makes up a famous ring of fire. Again, this is really important for scientists and for people studying it simply because we cannot actually predict. That's the problem. We cannot predict this phenomena. It is naturally occurring, and we don't know yet when this may happen again. We don't know. Even scientists. That's why it is not true that you can predict. It is unpredictable. Okay, the movements in the plates are unpredictable, but it is not the end of the world. It is actually Earth shaping itself. Okay, it is the way God created it. Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me? Ravi can hear me. Online students, can you hear me?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. This is the Pacific Belt Ring of Fire, as you can see. Okay. The Philippines are actually here. So instead of we are living near the Pacific Belt Ring of Fire before, right, Tom? We are near the Pacific Belt Ring of Fire. This shows that we are in the Pacific Belt Ring of Fire, just like San Andreas. Okay? Mayon and Pinatubo are in the Pacific Belt Ring of Fire. That's why they are highly active. Okay? Japan also, a lot of volcanic activity on Earth. It is in Pacific Belt Ring of Fire. What else? Okay. Middle America Trench is there. Okay. Chile Trench are there also. These are again the Pacific Belt Ring of Fire, and it is important for them to identify them in order for us to study more further with regards to the volcanic activity and tectonic plates movements. Questions so far? Hopefully, we can do also some activities. Yes, yes, Long. Yes. volcanic activity. That's how trenches move also, by subduction. Diba? Trenches are actually the product of oceanic what? Convergence. Oceanic created trench and actually that's a fissure. If there are some fissure, tendency is there are some cracks in the ground. Okay? And upon checking on the definition of a volcano, it is not always mountain in form. It could be a crack. That's why there are some volcanic activity in some trenches. That's the reason behind. So we need to clarify them over. And because that idea, you'll be bringing that one in your senior high exam. We have a subject in senior high called natural science, not science. And I am also handling that side before. That's why I know. What causes the change? Oceanic convergence. Remember the convergence, Ravi? I think you sent me a video before with convergence, divergence, and convergence. Correct? Yeah, eighth grade. Hmm. Because during that time we don't have, we cannot actually have face to face. Our output during that time is video. It's the reason behind. And until now, video is active faults. Okay? A fault is a break in the ground along which movements has taken place. In some faults, the ground may move in horizontal direction or sideways. In other faults, by the way, when we have also faults, these are cracks. Okay? Some of the faults has volcanic activity also. The movement of the magma is in there, especially if it is near an active volcano. The pressure builds up there. The movements in the vertical direction. Portions of the ground move up or down in respective or respect to one another. It is the sudden movement along faults that sets off shaking, which we feel as okay. Similar to volcanoes, because they are actually connected, whether we like it or not. These faults are connected to volcanoes, the cracks. There are active and inactive faults. Okay? A fault is considered active if it has moved one or more times in the last 10 years. It is still active. But an active fault is expected to move again in the future and cause earthquakes. Okay? Again, it is always um, associated also with earthquake, the faulting, the movements of tectonic plates. Are you okay, Daisy? The movements of tectonic plates. Online students, can you still hear me?
Yes, teacher, I can still hear you.
Yes,
Okay.
teacher.
There are quite a number of active faults in the Philippines. We have active faults. Okay? And usually, these active faults are near to the active volcanoes. That's the problem again, another problem in mountainous provinces. One particular fault in is the Philippine fault. Okay? It stretches along the length of archipelago because we are archipelagic. Okay? We are composed of different islands. Okay? It starts somewhere in Ilocos, okay, Ilocos Sur, Ilocos Norte, and crosses Cordillera provinces, extends to Quezon province, skirts Masbate, slices Leyte from tip to tip, and runs along eastern portion of Mindanao. That's the reason behind also that these area are prone to earthquakes. They're earthquake prone area. And sometimes you can feel the earthquake coming from them. The epicenter is there, but you can also feel that the effect, okay, the aftershock of these earthquakes. Yes, Dom. Well, they have actually a device that detects these movements. Okay, a seismogram. They cannot predict, but they can actually locate. They can locate if there is a device will predict the earthquakes. It will be coming from you. You know? Why not create a device that can predict? But as of the moment, there is no device that can predict possible earthquake. But with the help of the VOST, Science and Technology, the Department of Science and Technology, and you students, okay, you can actually create something innovative. It could be from the Philippines that they can create or they can actually produce something that can predict possible earthquakes. And it will be helpful, very helpful to the society, to the mankind. Imagine there is a coming earthquake and you predicted it already. So you can actually let the people vacate the area, correct? But as of the moment we don't have. That's why we have risk management council. If in case there is again a possible earthquake or calamity, but we cannot predict. That's the problem. Trenches. Okay? Trenches are like deep canals on the seafloor. When viewed from the side, they have a V-shaped cross section. Okay? You may have heard the deepest trench in the world. That's the Marianas Trench. Okay? According to the scientists, Marianas Trench also has a magnetic field. Has a magnetic field. That's the reason behind that their compass don't work in Marianas Trench because works with magnetic fields. But if there is a strong magnetic field in that certain area, it will not work. Okay? That is based on study. I think that's National Geographic. And they seen, according to them, they seen a mermaid. They had seen a mermaid in the Marianas Trench. I don't know. But there is a documentary video. Its the depth of this is around 10 kilometers. It's greater than the height of Mount Everest. Imagine Mount Everest, the highest peak of Earth. Okay, that greater than Mount Everest. Imagine. So it's so deep that the organisms there, or the light cannot penetrate them. Therefore, the organisms there, yes, are actually blind. Cannot actually see. They can just move through chemicals. And this is also the reason why we change sun as the ultimate source of energy. It is not the ultimate source of energy then. How about the organisms living in Mariana Trench? Sun cannot penetrate in Mariana Trench. So how can they live? How do they survive? Because so deep, there's no sunlight there, and it's too cold. So how do these organisms survive? They eat each other, cannibalism. Yeah, possible. Oh yes, of course. Okay, that's a natural phenomenon. But how about the smaller form organisms? They eat other organisms, including the dead, the organic matter. Yes, possible. Scientists observe that there are some bacteria living in the seamounts, and they perform chemosynthesis rather than photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a process, a food making process of plant. Okay. On the other hand, chemosynthesis is a food creating process also of some bacteria with the aid of chemicals rather than photons or lights because photons cannot penetrate there.
But if these organisms exposed to light, they eventually die. They're not used to ultraviolet rays. That's the problem. Come again, Arvin? Look, yeah. You will change their appearance. Hmm. Yes, because they're not used to it. They're exposed to ultraviolet rays or light. Inside the Earth, if you have the slice Earth in half, you can actually see that it is actually layered inside. So this is the question. Okay, if Earth is the product of Big Bang theory or explosion in the cosmos, okay, what powers up Earth inner core? So what's the inner core? Because until now, we can only see drawings. Nobody actually reaches the inner core. Okay? The surface of the crust is where people live. That's the biosphere because it actually enables life to proliferate. Below the crust is the mantle, and at the center of the earth is a bowl-shaped core. What is the composition of that particular core? And until now, why we can only see drawings and we cannot see documentaries. Have you seen documentaries with the inner core? Yet? None because nobody reaches the inner core yet. These are just predictions. But the inner core powers of the earth. How? That's the big question. Okay? The different layers have different composition. It so happens that the crust and the uppermost portion of the mantle have similar physical properties. They are solid and rigid. Again, solid and rigid simply because crusts, okay, enables life to proliferate. We need solid ground. Okay? As a unit and together they are called the lithosphere. Okay? Lithosphere. Below the lithosphere is the asthenosphere. Okay? A portion of the mantle that is weak and capable of flowing under certain conditions because it is actually composed of molten rocks. Do you have any questions so far? Question. These are just review for you. Okay, you are done with this in your lower grade. I think grade 8 level, correct? Hmm. Because your curriculum is spiraling. So it is a continuation of your topic. And you'll be using this one again in your senior high. And you can always contact me anytime. Even my senior high students, until now, college, they tend to contact me anytime with regards to the rest. Okay? It's a lifetime commitment. So if you're going to look at the scale of your Earth, you slice it over, you can actually see the crust here, okay? The asthenosphere, which is actually molten rock, okay? The mantle, the outer core, and the inner core. What are the compositions of the outer and the inner core then? That is also a deep question because until now, nobody can actually answer the composition of this. Maybe in the future you can. We don't have documentaries, we don't have records of the inner core and the outer core. But we can always see drawings. And these are just illustrations for us to have a, a form, to have a concept in our mind. But in reality, we don't have yet. Can you still hear me, online students?
Yes, sir.
Do you
Yes,
have any
teacher.
questions? Online students?
No, teacher.
Okay. Are you still following?
Yes,
Yes.
teacher.
If Earth were hard-boiled egg, okay, then the eggshell is the lithosphere. Because that's the hard part, the calcium, correct? But the lithosphere does not go around the Earth in one continuous layer like an eggshell. Okay? It is broken into pieces like a jigsaw puzzle. Remember, we are Pangaea. Are you familiar with Pangaea? Can you recall Pangaea? Okay, what is
I
Pangaea?
think it I think it was when the continents were together.
Okay, very good. It is actually the concept of the continents together, just like a jigsaw puzzle. Okay. Before, they tend to analyze on the structures, and land bridges. And they tend to think that if you're going to look at it in a bird's eye view, you can actually see that it looks like a jigsaw puzzle. Continents can actually connect to each other. The same form. Okay? It looks like pieces of jigsaw puzzle. That's how Earth moves. That's how Earth expands. Okay? Scientists call these jigsaw pieces as plates. Here comes the plate tectonics. Okay? This one of the smaller ones is called the Philippine Sea Plate. We are actually the smallest plate. Okay? Located at the east of the Philippines. The plates are in motion, continuously moving. That's why we cannot predict any of the volcanic activity. But we do not notice this because the movement is very slow. And what time 10. Okay? Still have 10 minutes more. Again, but we do not notice this because the movement is very slow. Okay? As they move, plates interact along with their boundaries. It is these interactions at the boundaries that produce volcanoes and generate earthquakes. In other words, okay, volcanism and earthquakes occur along plate boundaries. That's why we have plate boundary theories. These theories enables us to analyze what are the contents or what is inside the inner core. Why there are some pressure? Why pressure builds up in the asthenosphere and you still have contents in the lower ground? According to Christianity, the inner core is the hell of fire. But it is still a concept. It is still a concept. We don't have proof. Okay? And as a scientist, if there is no scientific explanation, it is not viable. If there is no scientific explanation, it is a what? A hearsay. Even ghosts, we don't have scientific explanation then. But according to them, it's negative energy. Scientists believe about energies, negative and positive energies. The cheese. In Chinese, it's cheese. Divergent boundaries. Okay? We are always talking about these boundaries, boundary theories, divergent boundaries. A divergent boundary, divergent boundary is a place where two plates move away from each other. If it is, stop shouting, if plates are moving in opposite direction or away from each other, okay, it is actually divergent away from each other. Again, if the plates are moving in opposite direction or away from each other, it is divergent. A similar process takes a long divergent boundary, the only on a larger scale. As the plates move away from each other, okay, rocks eventually break and suddenly move, producing earthquakes. Molten rocks from inside the earth comes out to the cracks and forming volcanoes. Some of the volcanoes are actually formed this way, okay, by the divergent boundaries. Okay. Do you have any questions so far? I'm ready.
No, teacher.
Okay. I think we need to continue next meeting. It's already time. Still, we still have around 4 minutes, correct, Ravi? 4 minutes. Okay. I think we need to continue next meeting. Um, we have discussed a lot, and hopefully you learn something out of our discussion. Okay. Please stand up for the prayer. Let's have your break. Can you see the prayer?